Hey guys, we are live with Robert Mao here. Um, Hold on 1 second, guys. I want to just make sure we don't have an echo. So I want to make sure we get some comments here. Guys, I want to just make sure we don't have an echo. So I want to
Uh,
make sure we get some comments here. Is it open on your side, Robert?
I can hear you, but I hear some
Echo?
echoes. Yeah, so I'm wondering where the echo come from. I
Okay,
can
I
hear
know I
you,
have
but
it muted over here on my side. Do you have the YouTube window open?
where the echo come from? Ah, okay. Let me see if I
I know I
have.
have it muted over here on my side.
I think it's from my. I do have a YouTube open. Sorry for that.
Okay, no problem.
All right. That's from my side. All right, we're live.
So, guys, first of all, Robert, I want to just thank you so much for taking this interview. I really very much appreciate it. Shout out to you for this. And then, guys, we have a set list of questions, and maybe we might have time for some questions at the end. Definitely, we want to be like respectful of Robert, though. Let's not talk any token price or anything like that because he cannot answer those questions. But let's be within reason. I'm going to be monitoring the comments and stuff like that. And I might have some questions at the end based off of your responses. And let's get started. So
Yeah,
I
cool. Yeah, thanks a lot. So it's also my honor to be in your channel.
thank you so much. I did put out a video for everyone to see, but I'd like to know kind of in your words how like a small breakdown of ArcBlock and like kind of the guys like the type of areas you want to target in crypto, and where like kind of where you see the company. Well, let's leave that question for later. But a
Okay.
small little breakdown on ArcBlock.
Okay. Yeah. So in one sentence, in my word, ArcBlock is a platform to help developers to build decentralized apps. Right. So we have three major pillars in this platform. The first pillar is a decentralized identity. Decentralized identity is a new type of identity technology that, first of all, it is self-sovereign. Basically means this identity and the identifier is not assigned by anybody. Right? You have the full control of it. So along with the decentralized identity, there is a technology called verifiable credentials. So the verifiable credentials is kind of a data format that you can use that to verify a few things. So that's the first pillar, is decentralized identity and verifiable credentials. The second pillar is the blockchain part. So the blockchain part, is a little bit interesting because a lot of people think ArcBlock is a platform that related with blockchain. Do I have to develop the applications all on ArcBlock? The answer is actually no. So from the very beginning on, we have this concept thinking that the application developers should be able to work with any blockchain. So if you're developing an application of ArcBlock, it does not necessarily need to be use a ArcBlock blockchain technology. It can be any blockchain. You can develop Ethereum applications, Solana applications, any of the blockchains supposed to work on the platform. The platform is blockchain agnostic. So ArcBlock's own blockchain technology is mostly designed as backend infrastructures for, we call that a BOSS system, is a billing and operation support system. Because ArcBlock platform itself is actually a protocol that help to manage all kind of different computing resources. Those resources does not come in from nowhere. Need to somebody provide it, right? If you're going to use that, somebody need to pay. So we use a blockchain technology as a billing and operation support system to kind of manage all those kind of computing resources that provided by miners and used by the users, and some of them may created by the developers. We need this kind of billing system to get everything working. So this is the second pillar called a blockchain's part, right? The third pillar we call a blocklet. so blocklet, it's just a name, but essentially it's a name for a new type of component. So this component is a composable and a reusable software component. This is basically like a dream of all software developers. What if I have, when I build a software, I don't need to rewrite things again and again, right? What if I have a component that is ready to use? I don't need to, it's not even library. It's not some kind of it's a component, just like your furniture in your house, right? I can just buy these lamps and put there, and it's on, and then it's become a part of my house, right? I don't need to buy those wires and, and build it myself. So essentially, ArcBlock provided all of those as the foundation for the developers to create new decentralized apps. So that's my word to explain what ArcBlock is.
Okay, so let me expound on that a little bit. Now, my understanding of Blocklet is that it's kind of like code agnostic or language agnostic. Is that right?
Blocklet itself is trying to be language agnostic. But sometimes, because this is a software component, sometimes it does have the limitations. So for blocklet technology, there's two major part we want to enable that. One is, as I mentioned, is composable. That means each of the components that need to be easy to adapt with the others, right? You don't. So to be able to make those software to work with each other. So that need to have some restrictions, or you have to confront some of the protocols, right? The second is we call it do one thing and do it well. We encourage developers to build a blocklet that is only focused on, ideally, is only focused on one thing. But it's up to the developer to decide. But once you have this blocklet that they only focus on do one thing and do it really well, and if they can compose with each others, and then the other developers who try to build something, they don't need to reinvent the wheel again, right? So the reinventing the wheel in the software industry is a big problem. So there's a lot of we can expand this later on because we, as a software developers, we have been, this computer science has been improved over the years. So how to reuse the code, how to make the software development easier is basically like holy grails. But there's always there's technologies advancing, but there's always problem that's stopping people to reuse a component easier. But we think in ArcBlock, with a blockchain, with a smart contract, we can build a better, not just the technology, it's also build a better economic system to encourage people. If I'm going to build components, I'm actually there's an economic incentive for me to do that, right? So I would say the software reuse has already not been a technical challenge from very long time ago. The challenge is the beneficiary, right? If you focus on writing some software code which is highly reused, but you may not even make a living on that, right? So there's a lot of interesting stories behind. For example, when we are doing live broadcast right now, we are all using HTTPS and SSL, and a lot of those browsers, they are using a library called OpenSSL. So you know that OpenSSL is an open source project. It has a few volunteers. It's really a lot of work to do, and it's also critically important. But they do that all for free, and there's no way for them to make any money. And eventually, they have to work on something else to make a living. And then when there's some kind of security breach, there's security loopholes there, they don't have resources, they don't have time to be able to fix that for the world. And then that causes a lot of security problem, and eventually actually costs a lot of money lost in the IT world. But imagine that why in the back, why can't the world, give them enough money for them to by just contributing, and they don't need to worry about how to make a living, right? So this is the problem. This problem is far beyond the technical challenge. It's about the how to distribute the income and the revenue better between those companies and between those kind of software developers. I think blockchain and a smart contract might have a better hit shot here, and so that's actually one of the important part for the ArcBlock economic system.
Okay, so how I understood the blocklets were like basically that it would be for someone that kind of wants to be blockchain agnostic. It's kind of like an extra layer on like this abstracting away the blockchain, so that if I just have a really fancy D app and I just want to create my own D app and not worry about the blockchain, I would use a blocklet. And then now with the blocklet, it'll make me easier to go into any different blockchain I want. Is that a safe assumption?
Yes, that's a good assumption. And actually, blocklet is beyond that, right? Because blocklet can be develop something related to blockchain. It can also work on something that has nothing to do with blockchain. Right? Blocklet is just a software component. It can do anything. It can be a smart contract, can be a layer to connect to different blockchains. It can be something that connect to backend database or AI engine. Yeah, it could be anything. It's just the software components.
Perfect. So then if I'm a blocklet and I have a cool D app, I can go say, okay, connect to Ethereum, but then maybe I want to connect to some legacy software that's like on Amazon Web Services, for instance. I could do that as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. For example, one of our eco partner created a upcoming release. They haven't released yet, but they already have a few beta customers. So what they do is that they're building NFT tools, right? So the NFT tools is basically this NFT tool is designed for the artist. Artists can use that to create all kind of different NFTs with these tools. But when they want to, when the artist decides, where do I put those NFTs on? Should it be a Ethereum or Solana or a layer 2? No worry, just a plug different part. Because you're using exactly the same component to design the NFT, but you select different of the blocklets that connected to Ethereum or Solana or ArcBlock or other blockchains, and then that blocklet focus on how to put the NFT into different blockchains. Right? So that create a very cool tool set and give the freedom for the artist to decide what to use, what to do.
So this is really cool, guys. Like, let me break this down to like a coder way and a non-coder way. So like Ethereum's built in Solidity, and Cardano is built in Haskell. So it's like saying, okay, I speak English, and then this other person speaks German. Like now, like you have to translate all this other stuff. But if you have the ArcBlock blocklet in between, all of this is kind of abstracted from you. You don't have to do all the pain of translating it to, say, Solidity to Haskell or English to German. Like it's all done for you there with the blocklet. Would that be safe to say, Robert? Like that's
exactly. Yeah. So everybody focus on what they're good to do, right? So artists are very good at creating arts, so they don't need to learn how to write smart contract and how to deal with those, kind of make the smart contract safe, right? So there's other team who might be very good at Solana, and some other team very good at Ethereum. So each of them can focus on what they're good to be, right? And then they compose with each other. So that's a goal. That's actually the vision that we see when the blocklet have a more adoptions from the developers.
Gotcha. So the whole goal here is to kind of put the power in the hands of the D app maker, where he can just focus on his D app and he doesn't have to worry about the blockchain concerns as much now.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So that kind of segues us into a question about you're partnered with Amazon Web Services. This is correct?
Yeah. So we are right now we are partnered with Amazon, and actually we also worked with Windows Azure from very beginning. So the position of what the AWS and like Azure or any other cloud service in the whole ArcBlock big picture is, so ArcBlock itself is creating this platform and this protocol. And but when you run any software, right, you need a computer to run it. Right? There need to be some infrastructure somewhere. So in ArcBlock, we have this concept called miners. So the miners concept is borrowed from the Bitcoins and industry. The only difference is the miners in our blocks. We have three type of miners. So one, the very foundation one called the resource miners. Resource miners are those who can bring in computing resources, storage, networks into the system, right? And we have another important miners we call component miners. Component miners, they're basically software vendors. I build a software, I build a blocklet, and the blocklet can be reused. This is called component miners, right? The third type of miners called operation miners, because once I have software, I have backend. But for the consumers, there's a lot of consumer end users. They don't know how to compose them together. They don't know how to operate them, right? So there need to be somebody to help you integrate them together, providing customer service, and maybe do something else like a promotion, sales to solve the problem for the users. All of those are called operation miners, right? So first of all, let's focus on the resource miners. So Amazon, any cloud computing services, we put them in as the resource miners. So right now, for example, you can already use service in ArcBlock, and for the end user, you just feel that okay, I get a server somewhere, it's running, but where exactly is that server? Right now, it's from Amazon, it's from AWS. So soon it's going to be from Azure, from any other cloud computing services. So we see all the cloud computing providers are going to be our partners in this resource miner section.
Okay, so this is a great example. Now, this would be for someone that's legacy, that necessarily, like, I don't want to necessarily go in a blockchain, but I already have my data sitting here in Microsoft Azure. I already have my data sitting in Amazon Web Services. But maybe this can be like a good, middle ground for them to maybe communicate to the blockchain world, or to just, have their stuff just be seamless and go through a blockchain type communication. One of the examples I saw you use was the DMV, which really like lends to digital IDs. I know that's a thing that's really kind of coming on lately, to really countries having like digital IDs. So I could see that being very much adopted by some company or some country that wanted to use digital IDs. Now they can just use a blocklet, and they don't even have to worry about like really trying to get their own blockchain going. Is this like correct?
Yes, correct. So the DMV examples and the digital certificate examples, that's mostly from the pillars, from the decentralized identity pillars, right? So the whole ArcBlock system, everything in ArcBlock, every identifiers in ArcBlock is a DID, right? A computer, a network, a storage, a blocklet, an instance of the software, anything. If you want to ID them, there's a DID. There's a decentralized identifier for that, right? And so the DME is like a use case, right? So it's a very high level use case. This is from the application layers, right? So yeah, it's possible to use a decentralized identity to develop a lot of different applications. I think the government ID, certification, all of those, this is a typical use case for the decentralized identity. And so luckily right now there's an organization, W3C, that is the organization that bring the HTML, the web standard for us. Right? So W3C also standardized the decentralized identity. And so actually, it's just to become a W3C recommendation by this July. So ArcBlock has identified a decentralized identity as a very good opportunity since year 2008. And we have get involved in the developing protocols and implementations with the DID, and within a bigger community who are many other companies are interested in this technology for many years. And so we're very glad to see this become a standard. But when we started in 18, when we see this W3C DID, this is just one of the potential protocol of the many. There's many other people are trying to attack the similar problem in different way, right? But we identified a DID and think this is something has a huge potential and matched really well with ArcBlock's vision. And so we adopted it, and we also invest a lot of time and research into it. And now this is great timing, and this become a recommendation. This is the only recommendation of the decentralized identities that has become a W3 recommendation.
Sweet. And guys, I just wanted to let you know, I see questions over in the side. We're going to get to those at the end here. Now, Robert, I'd like to ask you, like, if everything was perfect, like everything was perfect in your world, in 5 years, where do you see ArcBlock as far as like, okay, what's the perfect customers? What's the perfect situation for ArcBlock in 5 years?
Yeah, the perfect situation is I want to vision a couple of different parts, right? So in 5 years, I really wish the decentralized identity DID become a worldwide standard and widely accepted by many companies, especially those large companies that has a lot of legacy software. Like, because the decentralized identity basically means the whole world have a common language. You can communicate with each other and verify each other with this technology. Right? So within 5 years, right now I think there's a good potential here. Within 5 years, if the decentralized identity become a standard, that basically means anything that you develop with ArcBlock's DID technology or any other DID technology from anybody who come from this protocol, you're going to be able to talk with each other. So that's something huge. That basically means that a Microsoft like a team, they might easily be able to adopt with any blocklet that's created with ArcBlock. A foundation part is because everybody's speaking the DID, and the DID has a good interoperability. So that's a one part, right? The second part, if things go perfectly in 5 years, I think that's a lot of reusable component of the blocklet, and because of the whole concept of the decentralized applications to make that popular, I think it can be successful without having a lot of reusable component, right? If anybody has a new idea, they want to build something, they have to build everything from scratch. And then there's all of them need a lot of resource, developers, capitals, but with a reusable component, that makes things way much easier. So they only need to focus on the problem they want to solve. Right? So if everything works well, there's a lot of components. That basically means most of those kind of web application or software's common part probably already be built, and so you only need to focus on creating what is creative for you. So I think that's a second part. The third part that I want to envision, like in 5 years, I'm visioning that the blockchain technology is become the infrastructure of the whole society. Right? And I'm also a big believer of the blockchain. There need to be a lot of blockchains. Right? So we need Bitcoin, we need Ethereum, and we need a lot more blockchains. and we don't need those scammers. We don't need those kind of those kind of centralized exchange who pretend it to be decentralized by doing evils. But we need the real blockchain technology becoming infrastructure, just like today's internet, like our power supplies, like our utility systems. They're available anywhere, right? So as you can see, what I'm visioning like in 5 years is not just a visioning for ArcBlock itself, but instead is visioning for the companies like ArcBlock who really want to build something on the standard, build something that can interoperate with each other, and build something that can be reused by each other, right? It's breaking the silos of different technology, but instead we're building something that can work together. And together we build something even cooler, right? So that's actually from we start ArcBlock, we have this vision. A lot of people thinking this is just a kind of like a slogan that we talk, but actually we deeply believe in it, because on that vision we say, so ArcBlock is trying to build something that we want to encourage everybody to build together with us, right? So it's not something belongs to us. We're just a Kickstarter. We just want to kick this. We just want to sure that, hey, this is going to work, and let's work this together. So that if everything going perfectly, I wish in 5 years this vision become a reality.
Perfect. So, and about that, in 5 years, I saw that recently you were releasing something on the NFT factory. Can you tell us a little bit more about that functionality and who you plan to target with that, and what it'll do, how it'll make things easier?
Okay. So first of all, we just have a post to explain the NFT factory, and but that is not something new. That is something that we developed since year 2019. So the NFT factory, from its name, is a factory, right? So that is one of the mindset in when we develop the digital asset on the blockchain and the non-fungible tokens. We take this differently. We take a different approach than Ethereum, right? So on Ethereum, if you create a new NFT, you create a new smart contract. You create a new ERC 721 or ERC 1155 contract. Right? Each of those contracts have an interface that is confront with ERC 721, but it's a new contract. And that's actually the reason why there's a lot of bad actors in those smart contracts. They create a smart contract which is doing something bad. Right? It could be bugs because the developer didn't, make some mistakes in the code, or it could be from a bad actor. They actually creating something that is fake, that is intentional to do something bad, right? So that's by design in Ethereum smart contract, because each of the smart contract is just a new piece of code. There's no common ground there. The only common ground is the interface. So on ArcBlock, we take this, we try to solve this problem differently. We take this kind of idea from pattern in computer science called design patterns. So patterns. Yeah. So there is an important pattern called a factory method, right? So factory pattern. So the factory pattern, essentially you can imagine, like in a molding industry, you have this factory. Everything is so standard, right? And so the factory can produce a lot of stuff. All of those stuff are confront some kind of very strict standard, and it has very strict standards, strict quality controls. And then when the factory make all of those, they're supposed to be exactly same at a certain level of the security, safety, while they are unique, right? So the NFT factory is based on a protocol that we create called ABBA protocol. ABBA. This is my favorite band, by the way. It's called ArcBlock Simple as Basic Asset Protocol. So that protocol is basically in the blockchain, we try to have this factory method for any of those tokens, no matter they are fungible tokens or non-fungible tokens. It doesn't make sense. You have to kind of rewrite all those interface by yourself. Instead, you can have a factory method to ensure all of those kind of fundamental features are exactly the same, secured by the blockchain itself. And for example, right? So this is a little bit technical, right? For example, on Ethereum, if you want to transfer an NFT, right? So you have to re-implement the transfer function. That function has the same signature of that protocol, like ERC-721, right? But what exactly happening for those transfer are very much different, right? So this give the good side for this. This is give the developer a great flexibility. You can define what you can do, whatever you want to do, anything that creative when you do that transfer, right? But in the reality, since it's named transfer, right? So it means that in the society, we know what transfer means. You know that I'm going to transfer this to you. It means I need to give to you security. I no longer be able to double spend it, right? I no longer be able to fakely say I transfer that to you, but actually it's not a transfer. Is actually not transfer things to you. So in ArcBlock approach, we think, okay, this is the factory method, right? So all of those kind of standard method, they need to be exactly the same, exactly secure. But on top of that, you can do something interesting. We call that callbacks or hooks, right? Once after the transfer, before the transfer, you can enforce a few things. During the transfer, you can do a few things. After transfer, you can do a few things. But the transfer itself can never be changed, right? It's very rock solid, right? So we call this, so the NFT factory is basically we define a few things for non-fungible tokens. Like, is it transferable? Is it can this be, is this immutable? And does this has a special metadata that need to be verifiable, right? So all of those are standardized. But on top of that, developers can have many creative ways to turn that into different things. For example, the ArcBlock NFT can be used as a ticket, right? At the concert ticket or ticket to the events. It can be used as certificates, right? It can use as a passport, right? It can also use as a digital, kind of access management key for the system. So any developer who are already familiar with ArcBlock, you are actually touching with this kind of a NFT every day. And so the most common use that we use is for the access, right? So when you have a computer, I want to access it. Today, most of the common thing is a username, password. But in the ArcBlock, you're going to issue you NFT. So whenever you want to access this resource, you're going to need to present this NFT, right? So that have a lot of interesting values that can be enabled, right? Imagine, for example, today, if I want to have imagine, right? So I'm building I'm having a server from AWS, right? And then eventually I want to install something, and then I give this server to you for you to use, right? So the problem for today, so the only way I can do that is I just give you the username and password, right? And then you have to manage that server. But there's a lot of problem over there. What if I have this? What if I have a copy of the username, password? What if I also have the access to that, right? Someday, when you try to do it, you find somebody else, have the access, and also because right now the cloud computing is all under my account, right? If for some reason Amazon suspended my account, your server is actually on my account. Your server could get shut down, right? But with the NFT, so with our new design of those NFT, when I give you a server, it's as simple as I transfer an NFT to you, right? So once you receive this NFT of that server, represent that server, you automatically get access to that server. And also, because it's an NFT, it's transferred to you. I do not have any copies, right? It's to you, it's yours. And when you need to prove that you have the resource of that server, the only evidence and only proof you need to present is that NFT, right? So this kind of enabled a lot of interesting scenarios that you cannot do that before. Yeah, I can talk this on and on for a few days. And there's a lot of, we actually build a lot of interesting stuff here.
Yes, and that's like a high level a high level design pattern conversation that we're having here when we talk about factory patterns, guys. If you're familiar with like C++ and stuff like that, I'm actually surprised that Ethereum doesn't do it that way. That would be the most reusable way to do it. So that's pretty cool that ArcBlock's doing it that way. And also there, it seems like there's a bit of template splitting where it's like it doesn't matter what type it is. We're just going to take whatever type and make multiple copies of it. So yeah, definitely a masterclass in that. I'll probably have to break that down for you guys in another video because I have to think of a way to make it like non-coder speak for you guys. But very, very, very cool. That's awesome. So I also like the whole thing that you talked about of NFT ticketing. That there's so much that could go into that as far as like, okay, now providing to the user, now that they have that NFT, so much more utility because that NFT now has them more access to like maybe a backstage show or a discount. There's so many different things where you can go there. That's very, very cool. And I'm sure you guys have probably already explored those use cases with people. That's really awesome to see. So that would be kind of one of your main use cases for the NFT factory is to issue like NFT tickets. Are there any others that you can let us in on if you can?
Yeah, so for the NFT factory, is just imagine this is a factory for the developers to mint any kind of NFT. Rock is solid, and then the developers only need to focus on what the NFT looks like, what is the feature the NFT can enable, and they don't need to worry about how to mint it and where to put, how to make that verifiable, and none of that. Right?
So cool. So this is just really just making things dead nut simple. And I can really see like for legacy, this would be very, very important for them because they wouldn't want to have to now fool with trying to get their own blockchain or find developers for a certain blockchain. They just go to ArcBlock and it's easy now.
Yes. So I want to add a little bit, few more things. So for the ArcBlock NFT with the NFT factory is also built upon the decentralized identity and the verifiable credentials, right? So any of the payload inside ArcBlock NFT are verifiable credentials, which means those data are verifiable, right? So right now in the industry of the ERC 721 and the ERC 11555. The biggest challenge is those NFT are not verifiable because anything on the Ethereum NFT is only can point to external metadata, and those metadata is not verifiable. So I think that's the biggest problem. That basically means that is only usable for you to create a few, JPEG image. Other than that, when you want to put that as a utility, as like a base layer of the utility to create a verifiable, ticket, verifiable like a badge, or turn that into access control, it's just not doable, right? But with the decentralized identity and a verifiable credential, and then put that as an NFT, that dramatically expand a lot of way to make the NFT have a lot of use cases, not just the JPEGs.
I know. I don't know if you're familiar with LCX, but just in general, a lot of different blockchains or a lot of different like exchanges and stuff, they want to do tokenization, and it's always important to have things that are verifiable because certain blockchains want to have securities trading, and you're for darn sure going to need it to be verifiable. If you're doing securities and you're doing like different type of stocks, you need to make sure that it's verifiable because you don't want extra copies out there. You don't want synthetic copies that are not real. So it's going to be very important to have and make sure that things are verifiable in a world like that. also in a world where NFTs are like, I know certain companies are doing like house deeds, like selling houses as NFTs. So again, it would be very important that something's verifiable in those cases. So, and that's another case where legacy would probably say, okay, I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel with blockchain. I just want to go get the easiest path towards creating this as an NFT, and that's where ArcBlock would come in. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, one very cool thing that we see NFT, ArcBlock's verifiable NFT is also the license part. That the license part. So that's actually the foundation of ArcBlock blocklet, right? So when a user buy a blocklet, and what exactly they do, what exactly do behind the scenes, right? The behind the scenes, what they actually do is when a user buy a blocklet, they actually buy an NFT, and that NFT is a software license to the people, the user who own this NFT to have the right to use a software that created by the developers, right? That's also important is the NFT, when a developer create a new software that is reusing others' components, right? What it exactly do is they created this NFT, and this NFT had a contract with many other NFTs, which represent the other components, and that contract automatically defined what is the revenue split structure based whenever the user pay, right? So all of those things, they're NFTs. They're actually NFTs. The NFT is the verifiable credentials, and the NFT built on top of verifiable credentials. They are super important fundamental parts of the ArcBlock system. So that's the whole thing to drive everything works, because everything represent here are NFTs, right? And this can be also extended to some other applications. For example, the NFT can use it to represent a digital right of a picture, of a video, right, or of a song, right? When we do the podcasting, right, if we put that on YouTube, sometimes YouTube randomly kick you, say, hey, you have this background music that has potentially infringed others' copyright. Most of those are basically bullshit, right? So first of all, it's totally fair use, right? We're not going to be a singer, try to kind of beat some popular pop stars, right? The second is we are so that probably that the people who own that copyright, they're actually willing us to use that. Today, there's no way to do that, because today, all those kind of copywriting things is very, very complicated with those kind of paperworks. But imagine there's an NFT that defines those use rights, right? So as an artist, I can put a music, say, hey, this music is free for use. Anybody can use it, and the NFT prove it, right? The artist could also say, if you're doing this for nonprofit, right, it's free. But if you are making some money, I want to make like a 1% cut, right? You decide if you want it, right? If you want, you have this NFT, and when you sell your works that are based on that work, and so that those NFT and a smart contract, we're going to split the revenue, fairly to whoever owned the NFT of the music, right? So this enabled millions of new scenarios that today's traditional IP right system can never enable, right? So this is huge. I'm super bullish on the NFT itself. Even today's many of those NFT, they're just pictures, useless pictures. But I never doubt that NFT has a way much broader use cases. It's enabled a lot of things.
Yeah, and just for our audience here, some of the things that's going on in space, you got people NFTing the rights to a house deed. We got people NFTing like the rights to a car. I even saw somewhere where they were trying to NFT like the rights to purchasing like goods for a certain security. Like it was really something like highly nuanced. It was something that the WEF was working in tandem with some people on like something that most of 99% of a normal person would never be involved in, but they were NFTing it because they could get like, common people to put fiat into it if they could NFT the right to it, right? So, so there's a lot going into tokenization, even like tokenizing like really precious assets, like a really luxury watch, if you will. Like, so NFTs and the tokenization is going to be really heavy coming up in the next world, especially when metaverse kind of hits. So that's really cool to see ArcBlock getting it or already having its feet in that area. So that's a very cool, very thorough answer. Thank you too for that. Let's see here. So the next question we have here is, I heard that there may be a possible partnership with T-Mobile and Starlink. Is there anything you can say on that front?
Yeah, so for the partnership side, and I really appreciate a lot of people are really excited to dig news informations around that and feel exciting that there's potentially some partner coming up. But as always, first of all, I always thinking that we do not pre-announce any partnership with anybody. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of potentials, right? And in the business world, the partnership sometimes partnership is always kind of a widely used, right? It could be a customer also partner with you, right? You could be enter some kind of a more serious partnership, which is, it could be just a kind of a verbal, or it could be something with potentials, right? So usually for us, when somebody comes, hey, do you have a partner? Are you going to partnership with company A, B, C? I usually tell them, say, I will not announce. And just if you want to verify, just to come to their website. If their website say, hey, we are partner with ArcBlock, we're doing something with ArcBlock, great, that's an announcement. And we don't put those on, or we don't kind of announce that, right? But I can share a few things that I'm really excited about the Starlinks. And actually, Starlinks enabled a lot of new way to have the communications, especially the peer-to-peer communications without the with less restrictions around the world, right? And I do. First of all, I'm a customer of Starlink, but this is a partnership that anybody can establish by just paying the money, right? But on top of that, we and a few scientists are trying something. I tried testing something and trying something that potentially building the blocklet, a new kind of a blocklet that can take advantage of the networks could potentially enabled with the Starlink. And but this right now, this has nothing official with Elon Musk's company at this moment. There is something. If this turned out to be well, could be something happen. But right now, there's nothing I can announce. Right? I should neither kind of deny no, we don't have anything, nor say hey, we're going to have something. But we're working on something that try to take advantage of the Starlink network, and hope this is something that for the futures. Sometimes I post a few pictures that hey, we have did something, we have some improvement, but that's purely technical. But with those kind of groundbreaking technology, anything could happen.
That's a very, very fair comment. Now, one of the things that my listeners had, they went on the website and they went to see the team, and the team website link, it did not like it. It just pushed them back to the same page. Any update on when like all the team members will be on the website?
We're going to update our website and also a few of the communications of our blogs soon. The interesting thing is our previous blogs and some of the page are built with the GitHub, with the GitHub Actions. Even they're blocklets, but they're basically static generated website that triggered with the GitHub actions, and we have made a decision to make everything need to be powered by ArcBlock blocklet itself. And soon we're going to replace the whole thing that is a purely decentralized content management system that run top of a blocklets, right? And unfortunately, when we create a software, sometimes there's delays, and we do have delays on that publishing part. And so we decided. So it's interesting that we have a distributed team around the world. Internally, we say, hey, we are not going to update until you guys fix that problem. So our teams who creating this kind of tools, right now they're in pressure because they see, okay, there's information that the people want to know, but we don't have the tool ready. We're not there yet. But the good news is we're going to have the update for everything. However, for people who want to see kind of more details about who are the team members, they're going to be disappointed because this is something that I do not like to disclose. So I just want to encourage people when you research on a company, research on the product, research on the code, is the technology. Don't worry, don't care about who Robert Mao is, what Robert Mao did before. It doesn't matter. It's really what it really matters is the DID, the real trend, is a software that ArcBlock promised to deliver, can actually ArcBlock deliver. So that's the most important part, right? Like especially in the blockchain and the decentralized world, right? Everybody know Bitcoin is created by Satoshi, but who is Satoshi? We don't know. So that I think this is the most successful part for any project, that any of the developers doesn't really matter. Any of the people who, there's no mastermind on it, right? It's a team. It's a protocol that anybody is replaceable. Anybody can build it. So that's one of the part. That's actually one of the principles that I hold for a long time, right? The other part is the reality is, any of those engineers, any of those people that appeared with our team in the past, they basically get buzzed by a lot of people, right? Some people try to get them for their team, for the new project. Especially in the crypto and blockchain world, there are also some bad actors. They try to threaten you, do a lot of other things. So I think the best way is stay low profile and let people just focus on our product. So in simple, our website we're going to update, but you will not see a lot of more details on the teams. But there are going to be a lot of more details on the product, on the SDKs, on the documents.
Okay, very fair answer. Very, very fair answer. Okay, so we'll open it up to a few questions if I can find some that are very nice and not like token price or anything like that. So let's see here. There is a question, if you can, Robert, if you can, I understand. Are you working at all with Twitter?
Are we working with Twitter?
Yes.
I wish I could, but the only thing that I work with Twitter is I tweet. But the one thing is we're building some reusable component that will be able to let anybody create a Twitter clone or decentralized Twitter very easily, and this is coming, right?
Awesome. So also the question is, how fast are transactions? I'm assuming transactions with the blocklet.
Yeah. So usually when people talk about transaction per second, they're talking about the blockchains, right? So for ArcBlock is beyond blockchains. So when we design the ArcBlocks building on the operation system, the spec is we try to reach more than 100K TPS per second. Right now, we haven't get there yet, but right now, so our bot system is around like 1,000 TPS per second, which is way beyond more than enough for the bot system right now we have. But if our block become much larger, we have, imagine a day, right? Our block has millions of different components on top of it, right? There's multi-millions of customers are buying and purchasing all of those. we were going to need more, transaction per second. But I believe we're going to get there. For the blocklet itself, because blocklet itself is beyond blockchain. So the TPS could be extremely high. For example, if you have blocklet, that is just an operation from the memory, doing those kind of, that could be to like millions of TPS. That's also that's totally possible because this is purely on memory, right? So it's and also I think the TPS itself is not really important factors for, even though in the blockchain people are always talking about that. In the beginning, when we talk about this, when ArcBlock just beginning, right? There's a blockchain project called the US. They're saying that they're going to have like 1 million TPS, and a lot of people are talking about the TPS, and then there's people saying that they can achieve 10 million TPS, right? But what really is a TPS? So that's something that is a lot of people do not really understand what exactly is TPS. For example, the Solana has a very high TPS, and its numbers right now published on the website is really, really high. But if you dig into it, how they count TPS, they counting the transactions, the internal transactions at the TPS, so that then they can get a very, very high TPS. But if you're counting on the transaction that is the mean to the customer, it's still just hundreds, or probably at the peak, probably 1,000. So and also each of the transactions are different. If you have a transaction that is purely read or do something really simple, you could achieve very high TPS. But if you have some transactions that involve a lot of accounts, do very complex kind of computations, the TPS is definitely going to be low, way much lower, right? So this is not the TPS number of a blockchain. I think this is not a very accurate and scientific numbers. But we ArcBlock blockchain as a boss system right now, we have from hundreds to 1,000 TPS, which is already good enough for today's use case, and we know how to increase that when there's more user need to use a system. And I don't think we're going to achieve 1 million, by the way. Never. Probably never.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you with the TPS, especially we all know now that there are a lot of problems with Solana. So we won't mention those guys. But this does bring up a question that I saw in your white paper. I saw something about Algorand in your white paper as far as like the smart contract was concerned. Is there any connection there with Algorand?
So when Algorand has so first of all, Algorand it has a few scientific papers released, and in year 2017, when I do the research on the blockchain, all kind of different algorithms, I found Algorand by reading their papers. At that time, there is still at that time it's just a research paper. They don't have a project, and I was really attracted by the design of the algorithm. So we plan to implement the algorithm in our blockchain. So during that time, but eventually technologies keep evolving, right? So you can see there's all kind of different new technologies coming out. Eventually, we didn't be able to use algorithm. First of all, we have a brief conversation with them. We know that they're going to make that as a project, even though they published the paper that anybody can implement. But the paper is just a very rough idea. So since they're going to build a project themselves, it's better for us to kind of build something on our own, right? The second is during the technology that evolved. For example, a recent move is Facebook. When Facebook built Libra, so a new algorithm is coming out, and so that one, from my point of view, is way more easier and efficient, and so we adopted something else.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's no longer algorithm, but we do learn a lot of idea from the algorithm papers. So that's a great paper.
Okay, and before we move on, I just want to shout out some people. Of course, definitely got to shout out My C Network Crypto, My Comedy Network Crypto, Dion for setting this up. Mad shout out to Dion, and definitely go watch my live stream with Dion. Shout out to you, brother, for setting this up. Shout out to another gentleman, a crypto network member, Voice Crypto. He's in the house. Shout out to regulars, Relaxing Serenity Sounds, and Casper Holstein in the house. Shout out to regular Be Like Water in the house. He's the one who first told me, check out ArcBlock. Really, I want you to do a review on it. So really kind of Be Like Water really made this happen as well. Shout out to HBCU Maker. Shout out to Mike Roni Shimtov, Black Swan Journalist. And I think did I get everyone? My apologies if I missed anyone. I think I said my shout out to Casper Holstein, a Blackrue investing vet over there, and shout out to Solrax and Mike, and also shout out to a Blackrue, a regular HBCU Maker. One other question I had was, oh man, I'm gonna forget it now. So sad that I'm gonna forget it here. But yeah, I'm gonna be really mad. I might have to like maybe message you with the question later. But while I'm thinking of the question, is there anything else that you think that the people should know about ArcBlock and its future coming up here, Robert?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. So I think usually my interviews are quite technical, and I try to, but actually blockchain and the dApps, they're quite technical, and especially in the phase right now. Blockchain is still in this infant childhood, right? And the dApps is still not mature enough. So at this phase, like for ArcBlock, for ourselves, are more going to focus on the technology side, right? So if you're developers, you might be finding we're more approachable. But if you're not from the developer or technology point of view, you might think we taught a lot of things that you don't know what exactly it is. And I apologize for that, but I believe in the future, things is going to be better and better, because when we have more blockchain developers, more components coming out, and so those are more consumer friendly. So that is something better, right? For example, we have one of the consumer-facing product called a data wallet. This is one of the first of its kind identity wallet and crypto wallet in one. And the data wallet, so that is a wallet for the consumer that anybody can try, can use, can experience in the future what is a dApps looks like, how mostly it could be. The vision that ArcBlock always believe is that the blockchain apps and the decentralized apps, and also a modern world like Web3 apps, should be as easy, as user-friendly as today's Web2 apps, right? So there's no reason it should be behind. It should be bad user experience, slow. No, there's no reason for that. And it should be as good as today's Web2 apps, plus you have full control of your identity, your data, your assets. And you basically have the full control. You self-own it. Nobody can take it away. Plus, it has a great user experience. So Web3 is definitely better than Web2, right? We're just making this happen. And thanks a lot for thanks Ruell, thanks Dion, thanks a lot of people who make this happen. And it's very good to share this vision and with all of you.
One more question, as I may. You guys are listed on Coinbase, and I just want to know, like, how was it going through getting listed on Coinbase? Because that's quite prestigious. They do not list everyone, and listed over here in the U.S., like they have stringent like rules and stuff. How was it going being listed on those guys?
So this is the question you should interview Coinbase guys, right? So I would say the person that we interact with Coinbase are really professional and they're very helpful. Yeah, so for us, the listings was never a priority for us. Our priority is just to keep building, right? So we, in the crypto, you meet all kind of people. There are all kind of people asking for the money for listing and doing a bunch of things for this. We just be very passive, and we think this is good things, but this is not our priority at this moment. At this moment, we just need to keep focus building great stuff, and then the good thing will naturally happen. I believe this is still the case. In a good world of the future blockchain and crypto exchange, and suppose it should like today's stock, like today's bank or today's any financial institution, right? They're an institution for the service. Their institution is supposed to bring the great service for the customers and for their clients, right? So it's not purely about money making. So just to keep focusing, create great stuff, and the good guys will come to you, right? Come to your side. Like I never, asking for, hey, can I get a promotion in this channel or that channel? We just keep doing stuff, right? Thanks a lot, Ruell. You come to me and you offer me this opportunity. I believe more people might come offer this opportunity, not because I'm trying to kind of working hard getting all those, but by just to focus on doing the right stuff that we're doing.
Yep.
Right.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Robert. I think that's all the questions from my end. That's all the questions I saw in chat. Thank you so much for your time on this channel. I think it was a fantastic interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thanks everyone for participating.
Have a good one, guys. See you guys later. Peace.
Cool.